Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm so glad you could join me this week. Wow, just totally blanked on everything I usually say. I hope you're doing well. Before we get started, I just want to thank everybody for sticking out through this for so long. If you're new to the Redwall series, then welcome. You've made it this far into one of my personal favorite books. Because maybe there's pirates later. Who knows? Special thank you to my patrons on Patreon, who are going to be over here. You guys are amazing. I will say there are going to be some changes coming to my Patreon coming up, so be on the lookout for announcements about that. Nothing serious, just some slight changes that'll make things operate a little smoothly overall. If you would like to join my Patreon supporters and have your name in that list, then there is a link to do so in the description. It is through Patreon supporters that I'm going to be able to steadily upgrade the equipment I use for higher quality streams for you guys. And also just it makes things a little easier, and it means so much to me to have your guys' support in this. It truly does, and I am so grateful. Other than that, though, like, share, subscribe if you're enjoying the series, and keep your eyes open for more stuff about the Redwall animated series on Netflix. And without any further ado, I think we can dive right in to Chapter 8 of Legend of Luke by Brian Jacques. As there was still plenty of daylight left, the travelers opted to sail further rather than lie about in camp. Krar Woodwatcher saw them off on the stream bank.
Fare thee well, O Prince of Mouse Thieves. Fortune go with thee. Thou wilt not see me, but I will guard the air and watch o'er thee till thou art gone from my domain. But be you subject to thy prince's commands, and behave thyself, Squire Chug, or I will give thee back to yon carrion. Fortune attend thee, Dame Trimp, my friend, thou too, good Dinny, and thee, Sir Martin. I will not lightly forget that ye forswore thine honour for me. Go now, good beasts.
Chugger began weeping as they sailed off downstream.
Chug don't want Krar to be gone.
Martin let the little fellow work one of the paddles. Krar isn't gone, Chug. He's watching over us, even though we can't see him. Give him a wave. Go on. Chugger waved a chubby paw and felt somewhat better. As the warrior held the paddle with the squirrel babe, he explained as best he could. Sometimes friends go from us. It will happen more and more as you grow up, Chug. But if you really love your friends, they're never gone. Somewhere they're watching over you, and they're always there, inside your heart. Toward evening, they saw a fire glow in the distance. With complete silence and great caution, the friends approached it, hoping that if it were any beast hostile, they might slip by unnoticed. But as a voice rang out in song echoed on the dusty air, Gonferlax chuckling. I'd know that barrel-bellied baritone anywhere, mates. Now there's a fine voice for you, but don't tell him I said it. Listen to him, will you? It was a fine voice, more bass than baritone. Deep and rich, it thrummed out over the babbling stream noises. Oh, rum-tum-toe, fol-diddle-do, my boots are full of water, and the bread won't rise, I'm scoffing apple pies and swigging good dark porter. Oh, bless my fur, and you sit over there. There's honey cake and salad, and you've got no choice but to listen to me voice as I sing you this ballad. A look of pure mischief spread across Gomp's face. Cupping both paws around his mouth, he sang out in a perfect imitation of the singer's deep voice. Oh, you sit there and I'll sit here. I won't hear your ballad, but I'll scoff your pie and look you in the eye with my ears stuffed full of salad. From around a bend in the bank, a small, neat logboat came shooting out, propelled by a fat shrew with an ash stave. Trimp knew that shrews were usually aggressive and short-tempered. But this one was different. He performed a joyful jig at the prospect of company. It came as no surprise that the shrew and Gonf knew each other. As the former leaped aboard the raft, they pounded backs and shook paws. Lugolog Fermo, you pot-bellied son of a water warper. Soon as I clapped ears on that warbling, I knew it was the best ballad singer this side of Mossflower. Ha ha! Gonf mouse thief, you light-bored rogue. If I'd never known it was you singing back at me, I'd have thought 'twas myself. Pull over to the camp and bring your pals with your supper. It's on the go. Oi, Martin! Is that really yourself, warrior? Good to see you, matey. Dinny tapped the Shrew Chieftain with a digging claw. Don't he know I? Therefore I'd know him from a butterfly. Lugolog Fermo stood back, rubbing his eyes. Well, sink me a log. Is that the slim young mole I once knew as Dinny? What happened, mate? There another beast inside that skin with you? Dinny chuckled, patting his ample form. Nay, Zerlog, I just growed more beautiful and girdly strong since you mayn't been around to rob my victuals. Fermo turned to Trimp. What is a gentle og maid like you doing with these rogues? Trimp smiled. Keeping them in order. Well, I'd best watch my manners then, I'm thinking, laughed Fermo. The guerrilla union of shrews and mossflower, Gausim for short, had always been headed by one traditionally named Lugolog. They ranged all about the waterways in their logboats, a great tribe of them. Trimp was almost half a head taller than most of them. Small, spike-furred, long-snouted shrews, with brightly colored headbands and rapiers tucked into their belts. They watched as the newcomers made their way to the fire. Lugolog introduced them as friends, reassuring his band. Gausim shrews are excellent cooks, as the hedgehog maid soon discovered. Their apple pie and blackberry crumble was pure delight to the taste. Two Gausim cooks stood over Trimp, watching anxiously as she sampled some, inquiring gruffly, Good crumble that? Made it ourselves, you know. Aye, our own recipe. Do you like it, ma'am? Trimp's smile would have charmed the birds out of the trees. It's perfect, thank you. I've never tasted a crumble in my life that could compare with it. Beautiful. Unused to such compliments, the shrew cooks kicked their footpaws bashfully and began serving more food, calling to one another in gruff, bass growls to hide their embarrassment. Oi, ragga, pour more pear cordial, will ya? Aye, and give us some shrew cheese and watercress. I'll look after poor little Chuggy, will you, Bindle? Pour some honey over the babe's hazelnut pudding. Some stream-side salad and new-baked cornbread for you, ma'am. Lugolog Fermo smiled at the antics of his younger shrews, trying to impress the travelers with their hospitality, particularly Trimp, for it is a fact that the Gausim had always been partial to a pretty face. Fermo passed Martin and Gonf a tankard of shrew porter apiece, saying, Young Trimp's got her paws well under the table there. They'll feed her till she bursts. Some of the little shrews had never seen a mole before, and they crowded around Dinny, haranguing him as he ate. Do all moles have softy fur like you, Mr. Diggy? Oh, yes, my dearies. Us'n's keep it soft by eating up us all us victuals like good beasts. You must be the goodest mole of all, Mr. Diggy, 'cause you'd be eating an awful lot of victuals. Oh, thank you, young'un. I expect I am. You got very big claws, Mr. Diggy. What are they for? A kindly shrew mum rounded the little ones up. Don't you be asking Mr. Denny foolish questions now. Leave him a piece to eat his supper. Bed beast for you, 'tis late. Martin was relating the object of their journey to Fermo when the shrew mum stole up and whispered in the shrew chieftain's ear. He excused himself, explaining, We'll talk later, friend. I've got to sing the little uns off to sleep. Won't be long. Moored to the bank was a logboat, padded thickly with warm cushions and blankets. The shrew babes lay in it, rocked by the motion of the water, as their Lugolog sang to them in his melodious, deep voice. The stream flows by and time rolls by. Now daytime flies, so close those eyes. It's been a long day, little one, little one. Small birds now slumber in the nest, and fishes in the stream. No night has come to send us rest, and give to all a wondrous dream. All night owls go so soft and low, the lazy stream runs calm and slow. It's been a long day, little one, little one. Our weary world is waiting soon. Bright stars will pierce the sky, as silent as the golden moon that sheds her light on you and I. And when the darkness drifts away, some lark up high will sing and say, "Oh, welcome to a newborn day, my little one."
Gonf crept up, carrying Chugger. The squirrel babe was fast asleep. Sliding him aboard the longboat with a dozy little shrews, Gonf patted his friend's shoulder. "Wish we could take you all the way with us, Firmo, mate. Old Chug went out like some beast whacked him with a sling stone once he started singing." "How'd you do it?" Lugolog Firmo shrugged, gesturing at the longboat. "I've had plenty of practice, mate. 8 of them are mine." It was about an hour after dawn when Trimp opened her eyes. The previous night had been a late one, with lots of good shrew food, singing, storytelling, and even a bout of tail wrestling by 2 young lithe Gaussum shrews to impress her. Some shrew cooks were up and about, rekindling the fire and preparing breakfast. The Gaussum were very fond of sizable breakfasts when they were at summer camp. Feigning sleep, the hedgehog maid peeped out from under her blanket, savoring the day. Downstream looked like a long, winding green hall, with alder, bird cherry, and weeping willow trees practically forming an arch over the sun-dappled stream, which was bordered by bright flowering clubbrush, sedge, and twayblade. Blue and pearly gray the fire smoke hovered, making gentle swirls between sunshine and shadow in diagonal shafts. Snatches of murmured conversation between early risers were muted in the background, with the sweet odors of smoldering peat and glowing pine bark on the fire. Trimp wished she could stay like this forever, happy amongst true friends in tranquil summer woodlands by a stream. "Oatmeal and honey, fresh fruit and hot mint tea, ma'am." It was the 2 shrew cooks from the previous evening, tempting her to partake of breakfast. Trimp needed no coaxing. She sat up gratefully, wondering how one night's sleep could leave her with such a fine appetite. "Ain't you, friends? My word, this looks delicious." Gonf and the Lugolog were in friendly dispute as they broke their fast. "Hearken to me, mousy thief. We're sailing with you, at least as far as the seashore, and that's final, mate." No, Firmo. We wouldn't think of pulling you away from your summer camp. We'll be all right traveling alone." "Ha! You listen to the mouse. Turn down and offer us safe voyaging in convoy. He's mad. Martin, tell him." Wiping wild plum juice from his paws, the warrior agreed. "Safety in numbers, Gonf. I'm all for it. Where's your manners, mate? Do you want to offend Lugolog Firmo by refusing his kind offer? Ignore him, Firmo. I accept." Dinny and Chugger seconded the Redwall champion.
"I accept too, as well, Mr. Shrew."
"I too. Zuri shrews be good company and girt cookers, roy." Trimp licked her oatmeal spoon and held it up.
"That goes for me too, unless Gonf wants to do all the cooking and paddling aboard that raft."
The Prince of Mouse Thieves clapped Gaussum leader's back. "Quit your arguing, matey. 'Tis no good what you say. You're going with us, like it or not. See? You're going." A real shrewish voice rang out. Firmo's wife, Honeysuckle, bustled up, waving a ladle. She was bigger than him and had a temper that none could match, on land or water.
"Going? Going where, may I ask?"
Even though he was a chieftain, Firmo wilted under her fierce eye and sharp tone. "Just down the stream a piece to my fragrant wood rose." Gonf interrupted, standing between both shrews. Honeysuckle, you delightful morsel. We've asked your husband to accompany us with some of his shrews to show us the way and guard us against attack. But of course he says he can't possibly leave your side on such a foolish errand. Not that I blame Firmo. Any beast leaving a dark-eyed beauty like you to go off sailing, he'd be out of his mind, mad as a frog and daft as a bluebottle. Lips pursed grimly, Honeysuckle waggled the ladle under Firmo's nose as she spoke threateningly.
"And you great lazy lump, you said you wouldn't go, eh?"
"But, Petal, how can I leave you and all the little uns?" Firmo winced. His wife had hoisted him upright by one ear.
"In the boat, Lugolog Lazy Paws, this instant. You Gaussum there, what you standing grinning about for, eh? Now get those longboats ready to sail now, whilst I'm still in a good mood. Shift your moss-bound behinds!"
4 logboats were lashed to the raft's sides, each with 6 Gaussum paddlers. Honeysuckle tossed supplies aboard with furious strength and energy. Gonf murmured under his breath as Dinny dodged a sack of vegetables. "Matey, I'd hate to see her in a bad mood if this is one of her good moods." Honeysuckle scowled at him.
What was that you said?
The clever mouse thief gestured at the provisions. "I was just saying, ma'am, after so much bad food, 'tis nice to see some good food." She pointed a warning paw at the pair.
"Don't let me hear of you two wasting any."
Dinny tugged his snout respectfully. "How could us'n't be a-wasting victuals loaded aboard by such a fur paw as you, my girt buoy?" Honeysuckle dipped the mole a deep curtsy, actually smiling. "Why, thank ye, Sir Mole. What a gallant thing to say." Halfway downstream, between the camp and the next bend, Lugolog sighed with relief and shook Dinny warmly by the paw. "You clinched it, Din. All that fair paw and great beauty stuff. Where'd you learn it?" The mole twitched his nose at Trimp. "I didn't learn nothing, sir. I'm just being a regular silver-tongued mole rogue. Bain't I, Miss Trimp?" The hedgehog maid twitched her nose back at him. "Aye, especially when it comes to lapping up oatmeal and honey, you are, great fat fraud." Furmo did a perfect imitation of his wife's voice.
"One more remark like that, young hog, and I'll rap your ears with my wooden spoon. That mole's a great gentle beast."
Meandering happily down the broad waterway through the sun and shade, the travelers and their shrew friends jested and chuckled with each other. A water meadow appeared on their left about midday. The Gaussum had ceased paddling because the current was carrying them along with sufficient speeds. All aboard both raft and longboat sat admiring the serene beauty as Lugolog pointed out its features. "Looks peaceful, don't it? But mark my words, mate. Amidst all that brookweed, water lilies, crawfoot, and gypsywort, there are more skaters than you could shake a stick at. Mayfly, caddisfly, stonefly, alderfly, pond skaters, big lacewings, and of course the old emperor dragonflies. Makes it a rare old fishing spot. Fish come here all the time to hunt the flies." Gonf winked craftily at the shrew. "Aye, and Gaussum go there to hunt the fish, I wager." A sturdy old shrew elder snorted at the mouse thief's remark. "You're joking, of course. There's eels and pike in there longer than a logboat. 'Tis them be hunting us if in shrews worth all enough to try fishing in that water meadow." Lugolog pointed downstream. "Look, there's dragonflies coming out this way. They ain't tarrying either. I wonder what's upset them." A half a dozen of the huge insects came straight at the raft, suddenly veering off into the water meadow, their iridescent wingbacks and black-green banded bodies making a brave sight. Lugolog addressed Martin. "Something's upset the dragons. We'd best be on our guard, especially when we're on that bend ahead. There's a creek to one side of it. Stay on the alert, Gaussum." Trimp sat in the corner of the raft, holding on to Chugger. Half the shrews took to paddling the logboats lashed to the raft sides, while the rest joined Martin, Lugolog, Dinny, and Gonf, who stood forward aboard the raft, weapons close to paw. As they rounded the bend, it became only too clear what danger they were in. Like some fantastic snowstorm, a male swan came billowing out of the creek entrance. The sight of it took Trimp's breath away. Spreading awesome wings, the colossal bird reared out of the water, its long neck bent, hissing loudly like a serpent. Lugolog roared at the paddlers. Backwater! Backwater, Gaussum!" Furiously, the shrews backpaddled against the current, but the raft's stern hit the bank on the bend's in-curve and lodged there. The elder shrew seized a long paddle and bravely swung it at the swan, sizing up the situation for his companions as he did so. "He's a mute swan. Probably the female gardener young up that creek, and this fella thinks we're going to hurt him. Looks fairly mad to me. Ain't no sense to let us pass the retreat. This is his stretch of water, and he'll protect his family and area with his life, mates." Though they were in great danger, Martin could not help admiring the giant bird. With its tough orange beak, which had a hard black lump at its base, and its neck thick as a rowan sapling, the mute male swan was a fiercely wondrous sight. Snow-white, with wings powerful enough to cripple or kill an adversary. The warrior picked up a paddle to fend it off, knowing that he had not the heart to kill or injure such a magnificent creature with his sword. However, the swan had no such finer feelings, but came at them hissing, making a particularly strange squeak, far out of character given its bulk and ferocity. Gonf swung his paddle. A gigantic wing descended on him, snapping the paddle like a twig and buffeting him from the raft into the water. Martin's paddle clacked hard against the bird's beak, sending a jarring pain through his paws, and the swan came at him. Dinny caught it a hefty blow in the neck, which merely seemed to bend gracefully under the impact. Two shrews were swept off into the water by another clout from the swan's wing. It reared high and gripped the raft timbers in its wide, webbed claws, trying to hoist itself aboard. Trimp and Chugger slid backward, yelling as the raft began tilting with the swan's weight pressing on its front end. Martin grabbed his sword and held it aloft, quickly so that the swan's beak hit it with a loud echoing sound. Ping! No beast was expecting what happened next. Something hit the swan's head like a stone, sending a cloud of small white feathers into the air. There was an ear-splitting screech from above. It was Krar Woodwatcher. The courageous goshawk came in for another dive, even though it must have been dizzy from the first blow. The swan swung its beak and retaliated. There was a thudding noise as both birds struck each other simultaneously. Krar landed in a heap on the raft, savagely shaking off Dinny, who was trying to help it recover. The goshawk struggled upright, panting. "Use thy raft poles and get thee off downstream. Hasten now, whilst I hold off yon battler." Krar launched himself to attack once more. Feathers flew amid the hissing and screeching. Stream water was flashed into foam. Leaves and branches showered aside. Punting the raft out from the bank, whilst the shrews either side paddled madly, they skimmed out under the arch formed by the swan's neck and Krar's wings, into the midstream current and off down the waterway. Still paddling and poling with great vigor, they turned their heads to see what the outcome would be. Krar Woodwatcher was brave and a hard fighter as the swan, but not so foolish. The moment he saw every beast was out of danger, he zoomed off into the woodlands to nurse his bruises, leaving behind a bewildered and still angry swan. Trimp could not help herself from trembling as she called out, "He's coming after us! The swan's coming after us!" Lugolog gritted his teeth. "Don't look back, mates. It'll only slow us down. Keep paddling fast as you can. The swan will only follow us to the end of his territory. Then he'll go back to guard his family." The shrew's prediction proved true, though it gave them a hair-raising moment. The swan came after them, in no uncertain fashion. It was almost upon the raft, hardly 2 logboat lengths from it, when suddenly it gave a final hiss and turned about, traversing back upstream, lest any other intruder had shown up to menace its brood. With a sigh of relief, the friends collapsed on the deck, shaking all over from exertion and the shock of the swan's attack. The irresponsible Gonf grabbed the sailcloth, holding it wide and flapping his outstretched paws at Trimps. "What's the matter, matey? Never seen a swan before?" The hedgehog maid hooked a paw under the teaser and pulled him flat on his tail. "I've seen a swan, all right, Gonf, but though if I've never seen another one in my life, 'twill be too soon, thank you." Through the thinning trees, Dinny scanned the sky. Where be Hawkbird gone?" Martin indicated the changing terrain. "We're coming out to the woodlands, Din. Leaving Krar's territory, too, I imagine. I wish I could have thanked him. What a great fight he put up on our behalf. I'll never forget that great bird. Never." And that's where we'll end today's reading. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad you have. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. And a special thank you to my patrons. If you would like to join them, there is a link to my Patreon in the description, as well as other non-committal ways to contribute to the channel. Thank you so much. I don't have anything else to say. So I will say, be safe, have a good week, and I'll see you guys next time.